Back on the Bernie and Sid show on 77 WABC. Heard everywhere on the 77 WABC app. And we're coming to you live from the NJDiet.com studio. 17 stories above Madison Square Garden. And we're pleased to have on the line with us right now. His name is Bill Weld. He's the former governor of Massachusetts. And he's also challenging President Trump in the Republican primaries. He's challenging Donald Trump, believe it or not. He's called the face of the Trump resistance is Governor Bill Weld. He lives in New York now. Again, I mentioned he's a former governor of Massachusetts. Anyway, good morning to you, Governor Weld.
It's great to be on this show. I vividly remember being taken through my first baby steps as governor by Bernie and Imus back a million years ago.
That would be me.
This is a homecoming, right? I know.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to have you back, Governor Weld. It is. We have fond memories of you back in the day. But now this endeavor you have embarked on, President Trump, let me just go through this. He has historically high approval ratings amongst his base. The economy is doing great. Unemployment at record lows. Stock market at record highs. You've heard all this. Wages and consumer confidence up. ISIS crushed. No terror attacks. No race riots like we had under the last administration. So this quixotic quest of yours that you're embarking on right now to challenge the president as a Republican, it almost has a masochistic tinge to it, doesn't it? I mean, so what do you hope to achieve by all this?
Well, I love taking this shot. I think that the economy is good, but just about everything else is wrong, and the president is so erratic he can't hew to a line. His foreign policy is all over the place. Today he's posing as the defender of NATO, which is complete garbage. He's been trashing NATO since before he got in there. So I think we need a little bit more stability in Washington. And as you will remember from my governor days, Bernie, I did reach across the aisle, and we had a sort of era of good feelings between the Republicans and the Democrats during all the time I was governor. I think we could use some more of that in Washington, D.C.
It's funny you say that, Bill, but Governor Weld, I should say. I didn't vote for Donald Trump. I voted for Hillary. I didn't like his campaign. I thought it was sophomoric and silly. But let me say this, and this is where I think I'm more adult than most people. I've completely come around. I don't know what you want from the guy. I mean, of course he crushes NATO. Why shouldn't he? We've been paying Europe's bill for way too long. And we're writing checks to North Korea and to Iran and doing bad deals with all these countries that wake up every morning trying to destroy us. And yes, the economy is good. And yes, he destroyed the caliphate. And yes, he moved the embassy of a Jewish kid to Jerusalem. I don't know what you guys want. I'm not here to defend him necessarily. I didn't even vote for the guy. But I'm watching him work and going, what do you guys want? What?
Well, I think my point is he's all over the place. And this morning, I don't know if you saw, but on the eve of the NATO meeting, he's now posing as NATO's defender, and he's trashing Macron of France for not being sufficiently pro.
Bill, he should.
Absolutely no demands on himself where the truth is concerned. Put it that way.
Well, let me ask you this. Governor Weld, who's challenging President Trump as a Republican, speaking of NATO, he ran on having NATO pay their fair share, and that was consistent with what he did with President Zelensky in that infamous phone call. And that's why he trashed NATO, as you called it, trashing NATO during the campaign. And now he's there trying to get them to pony up more money so that we, the taxpayer, the American taxpayer, don't have to spend the lion's share of the money on NATO to defend Europe from Russia. And speaking of Russia, he's been way harder on Russia than Obama ever was. He gave them weapons, as you know, harsher sanctions, et cetera, et cetera. So, again, where has he gone wrong regarding NATO and Russia?
Boy, I think everything he's doing is playing right into Putin's hands. It's not just the leaning on Zelensky, basically extorting him to punish Joe Biden as the price of getting his military aid. Don't forget, Russia and Ukraine are in a shooting war. That's not a tea party. Those are Russian tanks.
Which is why he sent them. That's why he sent them Javelin missiles.
Yeah, well, that's the exact aid he was withholding until Zelensky agreed to publicly announce he was investigating Joe Biden and Hunter Biden. So that's a dirty pool by anybody's standards.
Well, again, it didn't really go that way, though. I mean, look, and Joe and Hunter Biden did do something that was if it wasn't corrupt, it was certainly dirty pool. And President Trump did not initially ask about the Bidens. He did not. He talked about the corruption in Ukraine, the DNC, all those things. Now, yes, I agree, Bill, in that if I'm President Trump, I would never have mentioned the Bidens. Never have mentioned them. But the truth is, he did mention them. There was nothing illegal about it. Nothing. And the other truth is
everything was illegal about it. Listen, I was a federal prosecutor for 7 years. I was head of the criminal division in Main Justice in Washington. And that's a clear extortion and bribery. And the president committed clear obstruction of justice. It's detailed in the Volume 2 of the Mueller report. 1,000 federal prosecutors signed a document saying this is some of the clearest evidence of obstruction of justice they've ever seen. So, the Republicans in the House are now saying, well, maybe this was wrong, but it's not impeachable. It is impeachable. It's exactly what the founders were most worried about.
But let me ask you this. You're going to impeach him in the House, right? Not you. I shouldn't say that. And then he's going to be acquitted in the Senate. And then he's going to run again in 2020. No disrespect to you. You're a wonderful guy. He's going to win again. So what are we doing here? Well, what are we really? We're wasting time, taxpayer money. I know you're a big-time attorney. I'm going to tell you you're wrong. He did nothing illegal. Nothing illegal. You want to talk about it didn't look good? You got it. I'm with you 100%. He did nothing illegal. So we're wasting time, taxpayer money. We did the same thing with Russia, the same thing with the Mueller report, and there was nothing there. Nothing.
Well, maybe we talk offline. I know you have access to odds makers and betting services, and maybe we make a bet on whether or not Donald Trump is going to be reelected president in 2020. I don't think that's likely at all.
Well, Governor Bill Weld, who's challenging president, he's a Republican presidential candidate, is Governor Bill Weld. Governor, well, listen, I read all your policy positions, and it seems to me your only connection to the Republican Party is that you're a fiscal conservative. Otherwise, all of your policies fit well into the Democratic platform. You should have read. No? I'm a
fiscal conservative. I know how to get things done. Sure, I think we need to do something about our climate problem, but I know what to do. Sure, we got to look out for the people who are going to lose all their jobs to artificial intelligence. I think I know what to do. I've got detailed plans for this. No one in Washington is worrying about those people who are going to lose all their jobs. Those are Trump voters. They should be all over that like a cheap suit.
Well, he's got a lot of the Trump vote. He promised to deliver jobs, and he came through with it. I mean, he's fulfilling that promise at the very least. Let me go back to the Ukraine situation. Hunter and Joe Biden, what they did. Do you think there was anything improper in that? And Vice President Biden bragging about it on videotape?
I don't think that the people in Ukraine have uncovered anything there, and they did look from everything I can gather. But beyond that, for the president to say, "Look, we can do a lot to help you militarily. I need a favor, though." That's not a favor. That's demanding that as a condition of receiving the aid, which he had suspended just days and weeks earlier.
Which he can do, by the way. That's his prerogative.
It's not his prerogative to exercise a power in a corrupt fashion, and that's corruption.
Well, he was trying to unveil the corruption going on there. And how can you? Why do you keep bringing it back to President Trump? Bernie just mentioned the fact, Bill. There's a tape where Joe Biden says, son of a bitch, and they fired the guy, and he didn't get the bill. So why even go back to President Trump? We've got Joe Biden on tape committing the exact crime you're trying to put on President Trump.
Yeah, I don't think that's where.
No, it's a fact. No, it's a fact. It's a fact. He's on tape saying, son of a bitch, the guy got fired. Is that not a fact?
6 hours later.
Well, let me go this far with you. Let's stop talking about President Trump and impeachment. Let's talk about what the country needs to do.
Fair enough.
The country needs to take care of student debt. The country needs to take care of the climate crisis. If the polar ice cap melts, all our seashores are going to be underwater. There's just a lot of stuff that has to be done in Washington, and I think it needs to be done by somebody who'd reach across the aisle, have a bipartisan cabinet, somebody who's comfortable in their own skin. That is me. I don't think it's Mr. Trump. I think he's got a lot of demons pursuing him. And I think the whole country would breathe a sigh of relief. And I am a Republican alternative, and I am, as you point out, thank you, an economic conservative, which Mr. Trump is not. That used to be the heart and soul of the Republican Party.
Well, I'll tell you where he's saving us a lot of money is by withdrawing from the aforementioned, the Paris Climate Accords. You want to rejoin the Paris Climate Accords, Governor Weld. And the fact of the matter is that China and India are some of the worst polluters, and if they don't have to do anything for at least 30 years, they don't have to do squat. We have to give up a lot of stuff. We have to economically handcuff ourselves, and we're actually improving. We have, our environment is improving. These are the worst polluters. They don't have to do anything, so it seems silly to join
that's just not true. Nobody has to do anything. The UN isn't telling anybody they have to kill Bessie the cow and stop flying airplanes. It's just that what you can do is just get carbon out of the atmosphere by putting a price on carbon, and then the market would respond to the pricing signal, and presto, the atmosphere is not going to overheat and the polar ice cap won't melt. And that's the way to analyze this. It's not like the Democrats, I'm going to spend $16 trillion on this, I'm going to spend $14 trillion on this, without even saying what they're going to spend it on. They just say, I'm going to spend it on renewables. But the only way out of the woods here is to put a price on carbon, and then the whole system will take care of itself. Sure, it's going to be, a downward vector for the coal industry, but I'm not sure that industry hasn't already died. They just don't know it yet. And it's going to be better for the whole world and for us, and we don't have to do anything more than we want to.
I think gas prices would rise drastically, unbelievably, and it would hit the working class, blue-collar people, farmers, stuff like that. It would be like what happened with the blue riots in Paris.
With deepest respect, I don't think that's right either. You get driverless cars in there, the amount of gasoline consumed is going to go down, not up, and the whole future is going to look different in terms of transportation and gasoline. Matter of fact, with the $200 billion that would be collected through putting a price on carbon, you could abolish the federal gas tax and the federal tax on diesel. Motorists would like that if they were still using gas and diesel.
Yeah, no doubt.
That would be one way to get a consensus in Washington to do that, putting a price on carbon, to abolish the gas tax and the diesel tax. Another thing you could do is just repatriate all that money to the taxpayer, so it wouldn't be a tax, it would just be a temporary fee, through payroll tax relief. You could gear it towards lower income voters, for those who think that income taxpayers, for those who think that we need to worry about the people on the bottom 15% of the ladder, which I do. I've come around to thinking that income inequality is something we do have to worry about in this country.
Fair enough, Governor Weld. That's an excellent job here today. It's like sparring back and forth. You held your own, big guy. So we wish you the best of luck in your future endeavors against the president, and stay in touch. Good luck, pal.
Will do. Thanks.
All right. Take care.
Governor Weld on the Bernie and Sid Show. We're coming right back.